Yeah, of course. I think God's at work in all of our lives, and I've always had a sense, I guess, of vocation in the things I've chosen to do. It's been something I've prayed about and sort of felt that those were the things to move into. And I think certainly now, coming back to this country at a time when we're asking a lot of questions about multiculturalism, religion and public life, particularly Islam, it does seem that that's not a coincidence. Well, obviously, I think it really helps that having come from a Christian community, I've spent a lot of time with Muslims. I spent 10 years living in North Africa amongst Muslim colleagues, Muslim neighbours, had Muslim friends, feel very comfortable amongst Muslims. And I think many people haven't really interacted very much with Muslims. And so for them to be able to meet somebody who has, and maybe who has a positive experience of that, is very helpful. So, I mean, that's something that I'm always trying to pass on, and to really encourage people to build bridges, to reach out, to make friends, to see them as neighbours. I don't think you can reduce such a complex subject to such a simple statement. I think all religions are a great mixture of many things, both divine and human, and all sorts of things are in there. Even the Christian religion, I think, often as we look back at the history, I see all sorts of things that I wish weren't there, and I'd be quite ashamed of. I'm very sad that my community or my tradition has been responsible for those things. So I don't think you can say anything as simple as this religion is that or this religion is the other. So I'd encourage people to look at the complexity, I guess, to appreciate where there is something of truth and the divine and inspiration, and also to be critical of those times when it's been less than we might have wished. I think that Christ calls us to love everybody. We're called to love our neighbours, but not just our neighbours, we're called to love our enemies as well. For me, that's one of the great distinctives of the Christian message, is this challenge, I guess, to even love the unlovely. I see in many religions that there's a real tendency to withdraw into your own community, and I think religion often becomes a political identity where we identify ourselves against the other, and we feel secure in our little ghettos, I guess. At which point it's actually very easy to convince yourself that you don't have to love the other, you only have to love your own kind. But the Christian challenge, the challenge of Christ, is that we reach out past that to those who are different, to those who we might not normally certainly even spend time with, but certainly not love. So I'd say that's central to the gospel. I would really hope not. I mean, obviously, the gospel tells us that perfect love casts out fear. Sadly, I think the reverse is often true, that perfect fear casts out love. And I think when we become fearful, it's very difficult to love. And a lot of what I would be trying to do in speaking with Christian audiences is trying to break down that sense of fear, the sense of the unknown. And I often measure an event by, at the end of it, how do people go out? Do they go out fearful of maybe meeting Muslims, or do they go out thinking, I'd like to go and meet a Muslim now? And if it's the latter, then I think that's a successful event. We have to overcome that fear of the unknown, of the other. And that's central to what I'm all about, really. The question of persecution and of mission and strategies that are used, I mean, it's a very complex area. And I'd want to separate those things out a little bit. I think for many Christians, one of the biggest obstacles in reaching out to Muslims and in their their perception of Muslims today is the fact of persecution of Christian minorities in Muslim majority countries. Just this week we're seeing that in Egypt, in Cairo, with the violence that's erupted there. So I think that is a major stumbling block, and I think there are some very serious issues there that need to be addressed, and particularly that the Muslim community needs to be addressing those issues. So I think that is one very unfortunate and difficult obstacle for Christians in their view of Muslims. But then obviously the whole question of the ethics of evangelism, of how mission has been carried out, both in the past and even today, that's an issue that's very sensitive for Muslims. And I think as Christians we have to own up to that and to look at what's happened both historically and today. And particularly the Christian Muslim Forum, I very much like their approach with, they've been working on the ethics of witness from both sides, because Muslims too want to share their faith with others. And I think to do that in a way that recognises we do have freedom, and there should be freedom for both sides to share their faith and for somebody to change their faith if that's their own free choice. But also to do that in a way that's sensitive and ethical and transparent and fair. There shouldn't be coercion. There shouldn't be deception within that. It should be an open thing.